Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Premium Customer Workshop. So glad you could be here today. Welcome to all the new faces who are joining us. Welcome back to everybody who has been here before. So today we've got a really exciting workshop for you. We've been working really hard behind the scenes to get this one working. So we're going to be going through some really exciting technical things. And what we'll be working on today is, let me just add it up. Here we go. We're going to automate our customer conversations using programmatic SMS. So that means you'll be able to use your web app in Bolt to send SMS messages directly to your customers and receive replies from them. So as always, I'd like to introduce, we've got Erica joining us on the call. So she's one of our customer success engineers here at Bolt. And whenever you're dealing with any support tickets, Erica's one of the lovely people who are there to help you out. So I know we've had some incidents over the last 24 hours, but we've done our best to get them resolved. And hopefully we shouldn't have too many more issues going forward. My name is William Sayer. I'm the customer enablement lead role here at Bolt. And so taking you through workshops and things like this. Okay. As always, feel free to introduce yourselves. On the right-hand side, you should see we've got a chat panel. So feel free to say hello. Let us know where you're dialing in from, if it's morning, afternoon, evening for you. And Erica will do her best to answer any questions that you have. She'll be there to write to you in the chat. If they're relevant at the particular point in time to our workshop, what we'll do is we can display them on the screen, and then I'll do my best to answer them. So thanks again for all joining us. And with that, I think it's just about time to get started. Okay, here we go. All right, so as I said before, what we're going to be working on today is we're going to be automating our customer conversations with programmatic SMS. So how to wire Telnyx, which may sound unfamiliar to you, but I'm going to go through that, into a Bolt app. And so your product can send and receive text messages in real time. Okay, so why would you want to use SMS instead of email? We find some of the general studies that have been out there, the SMS open rate is about 98%, which is a lot higher than that of email. So if you've got an important bit of information that you need to pass on to your customers, then SMS is definitely the way to go so that they read it. Takes about 90 seconds for them to read it. So they can be very timely notifications. And then also we find there's about a 45% response rate compared to only about 6% of email. So again, if you've got some important information that you want to pass on to your customers, then SMS is the way to do it. So we'll have a look in Telnyx in a sec. And let me just explain to you the use case of today. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a Bolt project for a general practitioner clinic. So imagine there's a doctor's clinic and they have patients, and there are reports that surface for each of their patients. And when the reports are ready, they need to let the customer know via SMS message. So again, emails can just get lost in the ether, whereas if you're sending your customers directly SMS, then they're much more likely to see it, and they'll see it faster as well. Okay, so let's have a look at Telnyx. So Telnyx is a developer-first comms platform. Now, I'm quickly going to jump over to their website. Here we go. So this is their website, Telnyx Infrastructure for Real-Time Agents. Telnyx owns the full stack from carrier network to AI inference. So there's nothing between your agent and the person on the other end. No handoffs, no lag, just voice messaging and AI via an API. So, they're trusted by a whole bunch of industry leading companies. You can see OpenAI, IBM, Cisco, etc. So you've probably heard of Twilio before, and this is kind of the legacy giant in the space that are known for integrating SMS messages into your stack. However, what I will point out is I've done a fair bit of research into this. Telnyx actually offers, it's about half the price to send these text messages. So that's one thing. If you want to send 1,000 messages from Telnyx, it'll cost you $4. To send the same volume of messages from Twilio, it'll cost you $7.90. So it's just about half the price. And also, they're an AI first platform. So what that means is not only do you have the ability to send text messages, you can actually configure real-time voice agents. So your customers could call a number and speak with an AI agent that you've configured on this platform. So we're not going to be doing that part today, but we are going to be looking at the messaging. And so you can see they've got this modern website. Also, when we'll be looking through the developer docs, they have docs which provide a markdown document, which makes it easy for your AI agent to understand. So I'm finding it a lot easier to integrate than something like Twilio. And that's one of the reasons why I've chose Telnyx. Okay. So let's get back into our slides. So what are we building? A Bolt.new app that sends alerts and handles replies end to end. So basically you can click a button within your Bolt app via Telnyx, and then your recipients will receive it as a text message. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started, and we're going to set up the Bolt project. So you can see this is our initial prompt. Let's go through this together. So please create a simple dashboard for a medical practice. Don't implement user auth yet. And I'm only doing that just for the sake of time. If you were really creating one of these, then you would want to implement user auth. It should have a sidebar on the left where I can see patient details and send messages to these patients. The user should be able to add a mobile number to patient information, but this should be considered as private information. Their number should always be hidden from view unless the user clicks reveal. Just a little caveat, I'm doing that because I don't want my personal phone number going on this recording for YouTube. So I'm just going to be concealing that in as many places as possible. So please use the design MD file to make all design decisions and save this to the project root. So that is a step I'll also be showing you in a sec. So what we'll do is I'm just going to copy this prompt. Let's jump over into a Bolt project. And I'm going to choose Opus 4.7. I'm going to paste this in. Here we go, which is great. Now, that design markdown file. So I am going to create our own custom design markdown file. Now, obviously in Bolt, if you're on a Teams plan, you can go ahead and you can create your own custom design system, which is a fantastic thing to do if you work in a team. So you do so just by doing this. But just for this example, I'm going to go into Stitch and let's just create a very simple design markdown file. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Stitch, it's a new product by Google, and it's basically really focused on AI design. So we can give it a prompt and it will spit out an AI design. So here's our prompt. Please create a drop that out. Sleek and modern design system for a medical practitioner dashboard. It should look professional. So something as simple as this, I'm going to go to their most powerful model, go into web, and we're going to build that out. So I got into the habit where when I'm starting a project from scratch, I find it really powerful to just quickly create a design markdown file like this, which we'll see in a sec. And yep, here we go. So if we want to modify this, we can click on it, click edit. Over here, we can see the corner radius. We can change the colors if we want. We've got the fonts, but you know what? It usually does a pretty good job off the bat. So I might just round the corners a tiny bit. Okay, there we go. I'm happy with that. So now, once we're still in this edit mode, I'm going to jump into, so let me click edit. I'll click on this. Oh, well, let me hit save. So now it's going to rewrite that corner radius into the design markdown file. Let's click edit. Let's go over to the design markdown document. Something that Google Stitch announced over this last week is they've actually created a bit of an open standard for this design markdown file. So notice they actually name the tokens themselves and all their values in here as well. And they're actively working on creating the best possible format for this design markdown file for the agents to understand. Great. So we talk about typography, layout, spacing, elevation, depth. Great. So I'm just going to copy that. Let's jump back into our Bolt project. And now I'm going to paste that. So we've got that pasted in there. Let's now go ahead and we're going to click Enhance Prompt. Okay, I'm just reading through the comments now. Don't be scared. I'm not worried about you, Jeff. I'm sure you'll send me some polite messages. I just don't want the whole YouTube community seeing my.
I'll call Will.
Okay, here we go. I'll put this in plan mode, generate plan. And here we go. Jose, am I saying your name right? Why has the quality of Opus 4.6 dropped off so much? It's a really good question. It's not a problem. It's not a Bolt specific problem. It's something that the community in general has faced issues with. Some people think because the demand for Anthropic has just gone up, it's surged in the last month or two. Some people think that maybe they're purposely capping its thinking ability. So it's a good question. I'm finding really good results with Opus 4.7, and you'll see that today. But it's not, as I said, it's not just something Bolt's been dealing with. I've been seeing a lot of reports on that on Twitter as well, unfortunately. So we're building this out, which is good. It's creating the plan. Let's just have a quick look through some of this that it's saying. So design foundation setup, great. The Bolt database layer, okay, so it's creating a database for messages, which is good. Application shell, yeah. Patient details module, messaging module. It's all looking pretty straightforward. No clarifying questions. And so now we're going to go and implement this plan. Great. Okay, so we've got that building, and we're going to give that 5 or 10 minutes, however long it takes. And in the meantime, let's jump back into Telnyx. So a little overview of kind of the process we're going to go through. So first of all is we'll need our Telnyx API key. So it's a secret token that's created by Telnyx that the app uses to authenticate with Telnyx. It's basically Bolt. Once you put the API key into Bolt, it's a way that Bolt can talk to Telnyx and say, hey, I'm who you expected to be. Treat it like a password. Never commit it to your GitHub or store it anywhere unsafe. Make sure to store it as a secret within Bolt.new, which I'll be showing you along the way. So messaging profile. So a Telnyx bucket is that groups a number, its setting, its webhook URL. So we'll be going through this in the Telnyx dashboard. Edge function, it's a small piece of server code. So when your clients go onto your website, they have no way of actually viewing this. And it runs usually in a data center close to the user. So it makes the latency a lot less. And then Bolt creates these for when it's dealing with the Telnyx API. So when it's almost the middleman between your clients, your users, and how it deals with Telnyx. And we'll also be setting up webhooks, which is basically a URL that the Bolt agent creates. And then you give that to Telnyx. And what Telnyx can do is Telnyx can send information to that. So once you've handed that over to Telnyx, we're going to be putting that in our Telnyx dashboard. And every time Telnyx receives a new message, say your customer replies and say, yes, I'm happy with that appointment date or whatever it may be, they press reply. On the backside of things, Telnyx then sends a little message over to your Bolt project via this little URL called a webhook. And then that tells your Bolt project how to display that information and what to do with it. So we've got two things that we're going to be setting up in this project. The first is outbound. So these are outbound messages from your app to the customer. So going from you outwards to the customer, and it'll appear as a text on their phone. And then there's inbound as well. And this is what requires the webhook. And that's when the customer sends a reply back to you. All right. think we're almost ready to get started. Part one is the outbound. That's the first thing we're going to set up. So we're going to set up Telnyx and we're going to send your first SMS from the Bolt.new app. So the first thing is you'll need to sign up and fully verify your account. So I'll quickly go through this, but you can start with a freemium tier and it takes 5 or 10 minutes to unlock the rest. Now, please be aware that as a caveat to fully use this service, there are laws in place here in America. I think Europe's even maybe a little bit more strict. I'm not sure about the rest of the world too much, but there are laws in place that basically don't let anybody just programmatically send SMS messages. You can imagine how much spam we'd be getting if that was the case. So basically, verification is required to do this. And I'll quickly show you through that process. Basically, it requires two-factor authentication. And then to fully verify your account within Telnyx, it does require a payment on a credit card. The good thing is it's not a membership service, so you don't need to pay an ongoing cost each month. It's pay as you go. And as I said, $4 will send you 1,000 SMSs. So it's not an expensive service, and you can just charge your account with $5 to get started. There's also know your customer rules. So when I set up my account, I had to scan my driver's license front and back just to show them who I am. And this sort of takes 5 or 10 minutes. So let's jump into, this is the Telnyx dashboard. I've already gone ahead and I've created my account. So you can see that it's verified. Once you create your Telnyx account, this is the process that you'll need to go through. So just make sure that you fully verify your account. And then once you've done that, then you're ready to go.
Well, we've got a quick question.
Yes.
Does it also support WhatsApp?
Yes, good question. Thank you. So some of you may have noticed that this workshop was originally sort of phrased as the WhatsApp Business API. And when I was doing my research, I found that to set up the WhatsApp Business API, I actually needed to go into the Meta dashboard and register some business information. And it's a bit of a process. And without an actual business name created as an entity within the Meta dashboard, I couldn't do it. So you can do the WhatsApp Business API, and that is supported by Telnyx. So if I come in here into Messaging Suite, you'll notice we've got these messaging options, and then underneath that, they've added WhatsApp as well. So basically here, you connect your WhatsApp. Here are the requirements. So you need a Meta Business Manager account, a phone number capable of receiving SMS or voice calls. And then another issue that I ran into is because I've already got my personal WhatsApp set up, it actually needs to go through this. You need a new phone number that you're going to use that isn't previously registered to WhatsApp. And you will use that to set up your new WhatsApp account. And then your business must comply with their commerce policy. So it is a little bit more of a process to go through, but as I said, Telnyx supports it here. So it's something that you can totally do. For now, the easiest way to get started is just by doing this programmable messaging. So once you've fully verified your account, I will point out that I actually bought a new phone number through Telnyx itself. So if I come in here into phone numbers, you'll see what you can do is you can go ahead and you can buy a number. Now I tested out with two. One is a toll-free number and one is a local number. And to buy a number, you just come in and you choose your country, you choose your type, local or toll-free. I will point out, so a local looks like anybody else's phone number. Notice that like the area code is, in America, we have area codes, and this represents the city of San Francisco. And so it looks like anybody else's phone number. This is a toll-free number. And if I get a message from that, I don't think it's just a regular person. It looks more like a business. Now, I will point out, if you want to create a local number, America has recently added laws where you've got this, you need to go through basically a branding and a campaign verification process to use a local number. So you basically come in here under this 10-digit long code or something like that, and you basically need to they implemented this about 2 years ago in 2024, and you need to, as I said, you need to create your brand and you need to create like a campaign, what you're actually going to be sending your phone numbers about. That gets submitted to a body. It takes some time to get approved, and then once you've done that, you can go ahead. To avoid that, you can just go ahead and use one of these toll-free numbers. So if you wanted to buy your own toll-free number, you just come in here, select toll-free. You can then also add all sorts of things. So you can say contains, let's say 888, and search numbers. Now it's going to show all of the toll-free numbers that are available to you. It shows you the upfront price and it shows you the recurring monthly price. So it's not expensive at all, just $1 to buy and then $1 as a monthly price going forward. And what if we want to get even more specific? Let's see if we can get a quadruple eight number. So, sometimes you'll hear on those ads, it's like call 1-800, text now or something like that. That's exactly how you can customize the number that you want. So here we go, plenty of numbers to choose from. I've already bought my number, so I'm just going to use the one that I've already purchased, this one here. Okay, let's jump back into Bolt. I see, great. So it's set up this project to start off with. Now, notice it's used the design system that we just created in Google Stitch. First thing I'm going to do, a really good habit to get into is, notice that I asked it to add that design markdown file into the project root and it didn't. Maybe because it had so much work to do to already set up the project. Sometimes it may miss the last command that you ask it to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create that myself. So design.md. Let's create that file. I'm going to come back into Stitch. I'm going to copy this and then let's paste that in here. Great. So there's the design file. I'm now going to hit save. And now that that's all saved, let's go into our project knowledge. And we're going to add to this, whenever making design decisions, make sure to consult the design.md file first. Great. So now whenever it's building out new pages, etc., it's going to read that file and it's going to use that. So it'll use that design system continuously going forward. Great. Okay, that's all set up. Now let's see how the app works. We've got our patient details here and we've got our patient messaging. You can see it's seeded the database with some example patients, even some example messages. So patient, let's see if we can add one. William, date of birth. Great. So what I'm going to do is, I guess you guys are going to see this. I'm going to have to blur this out from YouTube, but here we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that patient. Great. Okay, so I've got my phone number in there. I've got my patient details and I'm now added as a patient. What if I come into messaging? I can see I've got one here. And this is William, who I just created. Okay, so we've got all of this set up under the hood, and I think we're pretty much ready to go, ready to implement Telnyx. So let's come into the Telnyx dashboard, and actually no, let's come into the Telnyx developer docs. Now, often the agent can go off and do research and find these docs itself. I personally like reading through this, just getting a little bit of an understanding of how this is done. So that's why I like to do this stage manually. But as I said, often you can ask the Bolt agent to do this yourself. So here we go. Found this page which says send your first message. It basically explains exactly how to use their API to send your first message. So under here, copy page, look, we've got all these different options. If we select copy page as a markdown for LLMs, that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to copy that. It's now copied to our clipboard. We'll come into the Bolt agent. And now what we're going to do is I would now like to connect the patient messaging page to my Telnyx send message API. whenever I send a message from this portal, it should send to the patient's mobile phone number. Full stop. Here are developer docs showing you how to send your first message from Telnyx. Great. Now I'm going to paste those developer docs that I just saved, and I'm going to implement it. Great. So that's going to work. And so what it's doing is, because we've pasted all of these developer docs, it's going to read through this. It's going to learn exactly about this API. It's going to think, okay, so I've got to import Telnyx from here. I've got to create all of this, yada, yada, yada. And then it'll show you, it basically explains to the agent everything it needs to do. So as simple as that, we should now be able to connect that messaging. Do we have any questions so far? No? Okay.
There was someone who was interested in asking more about the WhatsApp integration, but I'm waiting on the question. So, well,
yes.
I'll let you know when it comes through.
In the meantime, let's have a quick look. Where's our Telnyx dashboard? Here we go. So WhatsApp, here's our getting started. So you need a Meta business account, phone number, yada, 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 connect WhatsApp business. Let's see what it says about business accounts. So I guess this is where you would go in, add the account. As I said before, it is a little bit of a process. The reason why I struggled with it is because I don't actually have a business set up that I was going to use for this. So I think you need to put in like your business residential address, and I think you need to add like a business website as well. So say you do already have all of that set up, then the process really shouldn't be too hard for you. You should add all the things that you have anyway, and then you go ahead and click, I think, submit verification, and then that sends off to the WhatsApp team. They make sure you're verified. And then once they've done that, then you're ready to get started. I know a lot of businesses will actually go ahead and use this WhatsApp for Business instead of programmatic SMSs. I'm not sure how the price compares, but for a global audience, obviously, WhatsApp can be a little bit more transparent cross-border. So yeah, definitely it's an option, and Telnyx supports it. So that's about as much as I know about it. Sorry, I can't help out more there. Great. Okay, so I just heard this is done. Let's have a look in here. Okay, so now it's saying messaging is now wired to Telnyx, yada, yada, yada. Down the bottom here, we see missing secrets. Okay, so the following secrets are listed but don't exist yet. So it's asking us for two things, our Telnyx API key and our Telnyx from number. So let's come into our Telnyx dashboard, click on our profile, and this is where we can access our API keys. I'm going to create an API key. I'm going to set no expiration. I don't need to add a tag if I don't want to. I can if I want. I can just say workshop and then create. So here we go. I'm going to copy that to clipboard. Yep, copied to clipboard. Great. Jump back over into Bolt, open our secrets, and we're going to paste this in here. Now we need our Telnyx from number. So this is the number that we just bought in Telnyx. So let's come back, phone numbers. Here's the toll-free one. So I'm going to copy that. And then our Bolt projects, I'm going to paste that in there. So we've got both of those saved. Well, not yet. Now we've got both of those saved. So creating those secrets.
Ooh, really quick. Can Telnyx be used for outside of the US?
Yeah, I'm almost certain it can be. And I'll show you why. When I come into Telnyx, wait, here we are, and I'm setting up a messaging profile. So basically, I've already set this one up before, but if I wanted to add a new profile, you basically say workshop, and then usually the API, I go API 2. I think this is their newest, more better API. And then this is where you choose the allowed destinations. So wherever you're dialing in from, Europe, for example. Whoops. Okay, maybe here we go. Oh, Europe, there we go. So for example, we could choose any of these countries and then create. And then that's basically that's the allowed destinations that we've now set up. So sometimes there may be political reasons or I don't know, legal reasons that you don't want to operate in another country. And so that's exactly where you'd set up where those messages can send and receive to in that step there when you're creating this messaging profile. Okay. So let's jump back into Bolt. It should be ready. So we've done that. We've added our secrets. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to share my entire screen with you. So one sec. Let me, I need a bit of technical work on my end here. So share screen. One sec. Here we go. Okay. So now what you should see is I have opened up a new window. You'll notice this is some tests that I've done before, which is why there's already some messages. And this is the phone number, that same toll-free phone number that we just purchased. So now if we come into patient messaging, I click on William, this is connected to my personal phone number, and that's what we've just added in here into this patient information. So let's do our first test. Let's see if this works. Send. And sending. It says it's sent from here. Let's see if something comes through. Okay, it looks like it's just saying queued just there. So if it doesn't work first time, let's just reprompt this. I've noticed when I send a message from the patient messaging page that it shows up. Whoa, look at that. It's gone through. Okay. All right. It's gone through not as fast as I would like. So let's see if we can speed that up. When I'm sending messages from the patient messaging page, often the message will say queued and take 10 or 20 seconds to be delivered to the recipient, comma, please implement real time so it happens as fast as possible. Also show delivered status if the message is delivered.
Hey, Will, while that's running, we've got another good question coming through.
Yes.
Is there a way
to... sorry, I'll let you read it out, Erica. No, you go ahead, please.
Is there a way to create rules for responses? For example, I own a service company in Arizona, and I might not want to respond to somebody in other states.
In other states. Good question. So what I would recommend there is you obviously using, the area codes of a phone number. You could probably refine to the area codes that you wanted to respond to. Now, obviously, this isn't a fail-safe solution because if somebody's got their number from, another state and then they've moved to Arizona, then that is a little bit of a caveat, which isn't ideal. I'm not a full expert here in Telnyx, so I wouldn't know how to restrict that within the Telnyx side of things. I have a feeling that maybe you can only do it by country. But what I could suggest is in the process of talking to your customer, so say they send you a message, you could basically just send an initial vetting question and say, hey, look, my services only apply to residents of Arizona. Do you live in Arizona? Do you live in Phoenix or wherever it may be? And just respond Y or N. And then if they do, then you can proceed. And I'll sort of show you how you can set up that back and forth programmatic messaging with them as well. So once we get the inbound working, then we can add something in like that there. So I hope that helps. Okay, so let's get back into it. So where are we? We've got this working. This is seeing if it can speed this up. So now enables real-time on messages to wire a subscription in the front end. So it's doing this. Okay, all right. While that's working, let's jump back in here, see what else to cover. Create a messaging profile. We've done this. Generate your API key. We've done this. We've looked over some of the toll fee versus creating a local code. So we talked about the pros and cons of each. The toll free start at $1, the local start at 10 cents, but they have that necessary registration. So we've been able to wire it into our Bolt app. So we basically asked to route the alert flow through an edge function, and then we've fed in these secrets. We've sent our first alert. Now, if the message isn't being received, sometimes you may have an invalid phone number. So you can ask the front end to make sure that it's 10 digits or whatever it needs to be. Also, if your Telnyx link is unverified, then it may fail. If you're having any of these issues along the way, sometimes you can just take a screenshot of the of where you're stuck at, add that into the Bolt agent. The Bolt agent will do a really good job of helping you along the way. Okay, so let's have a look through what it's saying. Delivery updates are now real time. So let's see if we can have a look. So if we jump into patient messaging, let's say test 2 and sending, and look at that, so much faster. Now, for it to receive a delivered notification, we actually need Telnyx to speak back to Bolt. At the moment, all that's happening is Bolt is connected to the Telnyx API and it's able to send that information one way. But now we're going to configure our webhook so that we can now reply. Because if I do a reply, we probably won't receive anything. So yep, because we haven't configured that webhook yet. But look how fast this is working. I hit test, send 3, sending. As soon as it displays there, it pretty much shows up instantly. So we've made a really good start. Now, our second part, let's jump over into our inbound messages. So letting your customers reply and showing their messages in your app in real time. Just before we start on that, I like the idea of adding templates in here. So let's just queue for some templates. This is all working great. Please add the ability for the, oops, actually, let me say, ability to reply using a message template, display these on the right-hand side. Something as simple as that. I was a little bit lazy with how I prompted that, but I'm going to enhance it. Here we go. It's going to come up with some templates using the enhance prompt. Great. So that looks good. And we'll just build that off. Now, so for inbound messages, point Telnyx at your inbound webhook. In your messaging profile's inbound settings, we're going to paste the and when we say the inbound settings, they will be in Telnyx. We're going to paste the webhook URL Bolt generated for you. So we're going to leave the failover blank for now, and this will make sense once we get to it. So this is again another just kind of overview of everything. So we've got the messages table, we've got the edge functions, etc. Okay, so we wanted, if we jump back at this, we want to create this webhook now in Bolt. So let's jump in here. We'll let this, and basically I can start drafting our prompt in the meantime while that's all working. Actually, you know what? Oh, yes, Erica?
Are you able, here's a question.
Yep.
If we want to change the phone number at any point inside of the application and Telnyx, is that possible?
Yeah, so just to clarify, if I jump back into our Telnyx dashboard and I look at our phone numbers, are you talking about this phone number here?
That's my assumption. I'm not sure. So let's come back to this. Can you change that phone number if so?
Changing it, let's have a look. So if I come here and I click edit, let's see some of the options. So that shows the order, the purchase that I've done. We've enabled messaging. I think all you can do is just disable that phone number and get rid of it. However, it's really not hard to come in and buy another phone number. So that's where I think once you buy it, similar to a domain, when you're purchasing a domain online, you can't change it after you've bought it. Once you get it, you buy it, and you're stuck with it. However, you can always go ahead and buy another one. So if you wanted to come in, buy a number one, say you've changed your company's name and you now want to make sure that you're adding 4, 5, 6, 7 into your phone number because those represent letters and that's in your brand name. So here we go. And there's one phone number that popped up. So you can select this and then go ahead and buy that phone number. And what that would mean is once you've gone ahead and you've bought this new phone number, all you have to do within Bolt is come back here, come into your secrets, and where you have this Telnyx from number is you just need to basically come in and change this secret over. So you just basically paste that in here, write out the new phone number, delete your old phone number, and then create the secret, and then you'll be ready to go. Okay. Let's have a look. We should now have templates on the right. Okay, fantastic. So if I click one of these, it now populates it into the messaging. It has made the formatting a little bit funky. So now when I select a message at the bottom, it kind of shifts the whole page down, which is a little bit of an issue. But what I want to do is I want to show you Outbound first. So if we get time, we're going to go fix that. Let's get this Outbound webhook all set up. Okay, now the first thing I want to do is I'm a little bit concerned that our context window is getting a little bit too big. As we start creating more and more features, it fills up the agent's context window and it can lose its performance over time. So because I'm working on an entirely new feature now, I've just hit clear. And so what I'm going to do is I now want to bring in some context to explain how to do webhooks. So let's jump back into our Telnyx Messenger dashboard. And here we can see receive messages. I'm going to copy this page. Let's paste this in here. Great. And now also they have something explaining webhooks as well. So I'm going to copy that. So we've got receive messages and webhooks. I'm going to paste those both in there. Now I would like you to set up the ability for patients to respond via text message, and I should see their responses here in the dashboard in real time. Good. I have provided 2 markdown documents as context so you can learn how to implement this. Please provide me with the webhook URL. Also, I've noticed that since we implemented templates on the patient messaging page, that the page is now taller than the viewport and I can't see the message input box at the bottom. Please fix this. Okay, so we're trying to address both at the same time. I think let's send this off. We'll see how that goes. All right. Cool. While that's working, let's have another quick look. Another reason why I like Telnyx is so before we've just been dealing within this messaging suite, but they have a voice suite as well. So if we actually come to, where's their website? Here we go. So some of their solutions or some of their products, we can look at their voice AI, voice API. We come in here, we can see their voice agents. I think they had a test somewhere on here. So you can come in. Were you guys able to hear that? No?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, okay. All right. It must not be sharing audio. But feel free, you can jump in here and you can have a look at some of the voice agents that they've been doing. Some of them are actually quite exciting about like the possibilities. If we click on their voice API, you can come in and basically implement a voice solution as well, enabling your customers to, call up if they wanted to, or you can have a widget in your app and your customers could talk directly to this agent. I noticed I was testing it out a little bit. There are some issues with like interrupting it. If you try and interrupt the agent, sometimes it gets a little bit stuck, but just be aware that these are getting better and better all the time. So what may not be working now, 6 months from now, may be working great. So just keep that in mind as some of these cutting edge solutions. That's another one of the reasons why I chose Telnyx is they seem very kind of developer forward in implementing some of these new solutions as best as possible. Okay, so we'll jump back in here. We've got about 15 minutes left. I'm pretty sure we're going to get this all done in time. So looks like it's almost done. Here we go. So now this is all wired up. Now it's provided that webhook, which is what I was talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that webhook here from that Bolt agent. I'm going to jump back into the Telnyx dashboard. We're going to go into our messaging suite, programmable messaging. Let's open this was the profile I've been using. And now notice that we have, here is our inbound. Now you'll see there's already a webhook here. That's because I was testing before. So normally that will be blank. And what I'm going to do now is paste that new webhook URL. So I'm going to save that updated profile, which is great. So let's jump back into our project. And now that that's all implemented, it should be ready to go. So patient messaging, if I click on William, I still notice that I don't have that chat box down the bottom. So I'm going to prompt a quick fix for that. I've noticed since we implemented the quick replies on the right that it is stretching the length of the email window and I can no longer see the option to reply. Please make sure that I can always view the reply box. Great, so we'll send that off.
Got a couple questions.
Yes.
What if your customers are doctors and they are using programmatic SMS messages? How can we ensure PI and SOC 2 compliance in this setup?
Good question. How can you ensure that personal information is kept safe and SOC 2 compliance is set up? So there are a few options out there with providers. So I know a few people who are using something called Vanta. You may have heard of Vanta. They sponsor a lot of AI podcasts. So they basically manage compliance, manage risks, and accelerate trust with AI. So what you would do is for something like SOC 2 compliance is you can come in here. I haven't personally set them up myself, but I've heard a lot of raving reviews about them. You can come in, request a demo once you're ready to go live. Basically what they do is they run an AI agent to go through your software. So that would basically look through your Bolt code and maybe you need to consult with an expert or something like that. But the idea is that they make sure that the solutions you provide are pretty watertight. So it would make sure, for example, that your API keys aren't shown here in the client's front end or, all sorts of security issues. So that's just one option that you can do to become SOC 2 compliant. There's a variety of other options that you can do for compliance like that. So, but this is kind of the first option that comes to mind. So once you've done something like that, you can then, show on your site where SOC 2 compliant when you're onboarding doctors or your clients or whatever. That's basically a compliance test that shows that you've met certain security requirements with your product. I hope that helps. Okay, all right, so let's have a look. Great, we've now brought this prompt up. Let's go over here into William. Now let's test it one more time. Test 4. Great, so that's come through here. Now let's try our first reply. Hello world. When I press send, there we go. It's come right through and it happened in a matter of seconds. Also notice that since we set up that webhook, that this is actually showing, it may be hard for you to see. if I zoom in, notice that this is saying delivered now. So basically, while our previous messages were all queued, this fourth one, after we had set up the webhook, it's now receiving information back from Telnyx, and it's showing that that message was delivered. So there we go. We've now got this messaging set up. So responding to one of those questions that we had before, let's jump in and let's basically confirm that our customers are from a certain geographical region. Let's construct our prompt. This is fantastic. However, when I initiate a customer communication via text messaging, the first thing that you should ask is if the customer is a resident of Arizona. If they reply with the letter Y or the word yes, then proceed. If they don't, then please reply that we cannot service them. Okay, so let's just put that directly in as a Bolt prompt. And just for the sake of this, to see the agent's planning, let's plan it out to see the logic behind this. Okay, great. So let's jump back in. Let's see if there's anything else to cover in here. So we've gone over the messaging table, inbound edge functions, real-time updates. Great. So end to end, you've got a real two-way conversation in real time. You send from the dashboard, customer replies on their phone, their reply shows up in your inbox, no refresh needed. That's an important part, no refresh needed, because we specifically prompted for real-time updates. That's basically a function underneath the hood of the Bolt database, because that's powered by Supabase, which has real-time. All you need to do is prompt it, and it basically allows all these real-time updates without refreshing your page. So there we go. We're pretty much at the end. Let's see if we can get this Arizona testing working. So here, so we're going to track the residency per patient. So look, it's adding the residency now into the database, our outbound flow. So we're going to inject screening questions on first contact, which is good. Inbound flow. Great. This is all looking good. Shared auto reply helper. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Let's implement this plan. Okay. Any more questions? I can see one from Mohammed.
Yeah. So his initial question was, let me try and find it. This was the initial question. Can we add auto message like company title or a short description on the phone number instead of typing a generic message every time? And then just for more clarity, this one came through. I meant to say every time you send a message, one fixed message is displayed at the top.
So let me just clarify with this. I think what you're saying is that every time from the clinic, let's say your report is ready. If I send that from the clinic itself, then does that mean that as the recipient, they should see something that says, medical GP has sent you a message, and then it has your report is ready? Is that what you're asking for? That the recipient should always see like something at the top here, which perhaps I didn't need to include in the messaging?
Or maybe like
for you to respond.
Not sure.
Because if that is the case, yes, you can simply ask Bolt to append a message like this onto, because remember, under the hood, Bolt is just using an API to send to Telnyx. So what you can do is, okay, no, not from Mohammed. Basically, what you're telling Bolt to do under the hood is you'll be basically appending two pieces of text together. So you've got whatever your default message is here. You could even configure that, anywhere in your settings within the Bolt interface. And then all it would do is, as I said, just append that piece of text with this, and then include all of that together in the API call, and then it'll send that over to Telnyx. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, we'll maybe get one later for clarity. There's another question.
Yes.
Basically, the question is, can you present, let's see. Oh, can you present something like an auto message that would send to the client about an hour before an appointment?
100%. Yes, exactly. So what you can do is here you'd prompt in your Bolt database. At the moment, we don't have any of our appointments set up, but that's a whole nother feature that we'd need to build out. So basically you'd prompt it where, your patients are connected to a appointments table, and your appointments would have a time and date. It can then basically, run Bolt can run something under the hood where once it's basically like a cron job, a chronological job that it does. So it's a time-based thing. So every day what it could do is it could go through, have a look through the database, determine which appointments you have today. It could find out their time and then rewind an hour and then set a queue of all the messages that you want to send. So that's exactly something that you can do. It just requires prompting here within the Bolt agent. Okay, so it looks like it's actually run into a little bit of an issue. Sometimes it does this. So what I'm going to do is, if you do run into this error, I'm just going to say, please continue. And now in this case, if it does error out like this, it will often still have the plan that it's created, and it will still have the basically some of this message thread in the context window. So just by hitting please continue, it should be able to pick up from here. Okay, so now it's working through that. Okay. Let's see if these templates are working. So if I click follow-up check-in, so I'll make sure that I'm clicking on William. So now I click follow-up check-in. It's inserted that directly here into our chat, and then I can click send. So it's sending, and interesting. Okay, so have a look at that. So what it's done is it's implemented part of this. It looks like it didn't finish the prompt entirely, but the part that it did, it was able to implement. So we can see that that's one of the reasons why if it does error out like this, I do like to please continue, just in case it does have some unfinished working. So we'll hit continue. It's going to look through that and look at the edge function. So basically it says, before we continue, are you a resident of Arizona? Reply Y or yes to confirm so we can assist you. So as the response, if I hit, let's actually look in our database. We should, under our patients, it should now have added the residency status in here. So it's got address, notes created at residency status. So we can see it actually says pending. So if I go ahead and I reply with Y and I press send, I'll just close this back in messaging. So now it's gone ahead and it said, thanks, you're all set. A member of our team will be in touch. So look, both of these weren't something that I manually wrote. That's what the agent was able to determine. And I bet if I jump in here into patients and I jump back over into William, we can now see residency status has been verified, which is fantastic. So there we go. I hope that answers your question from before, that you can now notice it is a little bit of an issue because over in here, we haven't actually seen those 2 replies. It looks like it's not showing those replies here in the chat. Oh, actually, no, my bad. It does. So there we can see that reply, why, and then we can see, thanks, you're all set, member. And so what you can do is you could then prompt it for something like, once they've been verified, please add a verified tick next to their name. Whereas if I click on somebody else, it may say unverified. Great. Okay. So I hope that answers all of our questions. We're just about on time for today. So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing my screen. Great. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed the workshop. I hope it's been productive for you. It was a lot, as I said, there was a lot of research that went into this one. So figuring this out, and I think we've got a pretty good solution. As I said, Telnyx is really on top of their game of what they offer. They're about half the price of Twilio. They're a lot easier to set up with those markdown documents in their developer docs. And you could see that the agent was be able to implement both inbound and outbound in a prompt or 2 for each of the cases. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Let's give Erica a big thank you for answering all the questions in the chat. Thank you so much, Erica. Much appreciated. As always, if you guys feel so kind, leaving feedback in the Luma always helps us out determining whether it's worth continuing with these resources. So I hope you've appreciated it together. Thanks for all the feedback that some of you guys have left in the past. I really appreciate it. And with this, this has all been recorded. We'll post it on YouTube tomorrow. You can always go into the workshops. Oh, thanks, Erica. There we go. The workshops.bolt.host site, where you'll be able to see where some of these slides are as well. So with that, thanks again for watching. Really appreciate you being here. I hope you found it useful today. And if you do decide to go ahead and implement this, all the best implementing it in your project. As we were looking through some of these slides before, there's some incredible stats. I'm sure each and every one of you can probably relate to this personally, that you're a lot more responsive to text message than you are with email. What I will point out, though, is that just take it with a grain of salt. With great power comes great responsibility. Don't go spamming your customers with a whole bunch of text messages. Just use it in ways where you're providing value. So, if their medical report is ready, that's something they'll want to know about via text message. If you've released a new feature on your app, maybe not. I wouldn't go ahead and spam them with all of your little updates. I know that, then you risk them stopping and pressing stop. Those are all things that you can also configure in the dashboard of Telnyx. So just as I said, take it with a grain of salt, only send them what really provides them value so that you don't risk them unsubscribing and then missing out on the notification actually provide value. So thanks again, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed today's workshop, and we're going to sign off. See you next time. See you next Thursday. Bye.